My crazy mother-in-law and sister-in-law have truly gone too far this time. And I'm not kidding. They've done stuff before, but this time was just too far. When it comes to my in-laws, I drew the short end of the stick. I know I should have checked the family that I was getting married into before getting married. But the problem was that they faked being nice to me. I thought my mother-in-law adored me and was on my side, advising me about marriage, as she had been married much longer. My sister-in-law, who had been in the family longer, even helped me get dressed on my wedding day. But the first comment came that night, when my mother-in-law said something that bothered me all night. She said that I was not so bad, considering I was not who they thought he would marry. I was not, quote, the kind of girl they thought he would marry, which irked me a lot. I thought we were way over the fact that his ex was in the past and I was the present. There, I felt that all the hard work I put in to try to get accepted was for nothing. I had groveled to get my mother-in-law's approval. Hers was more important than others. She had been mean to me, made me do useless tasks, and saying hurtful things to me in the past, but I felt I could win her over. I did not hate her. I felt she just wanted the best for her son. But she mistook the best being that he should marry someone who comes from a wealthy family, a far cry from poor me. So, after the wedding, the abuse continued getting worse day by day, but I did not care to just let it get in the way of my happy little marriage. We were both working hard to buy our first home and start a family very soon. I wanted to convince him to move out of that town, away from the family, but I was having a hard time. Because, well, of his attachment to his mother. I'll let you in on a secret. She's not his biological mom, but his father's wife. His mom passed away several years ago, but his dad has always had 2 wives. So the family's huge without even including the extended family. Family events are always crowded, and there's always a lot of work to do, most of which my mother-in-law makes me do. My sister-in-law gets different treatment, though. Something I soon learned to shut up about. This was after my mother-in-law mentioned that her son was a millionaire, so why would his wife have to slave around in the kitchen? She was like that, a leech that latched onto whoever had the most benefit for her. At the time, it was her daughter-in-law, who also came from a well-respected family. I was seen as lesser, something that spread to the other relatives over time. I could see that they did not respect me because I did not have her approval. During one of these family events, where everyone was gathered, I started to feel very weak and dizzy. It was my bad luck that my mother-in-law was in front of me, and I was about to serve her food when I dropped the plate, and I fallen onto the ground. I would have paid to see the food go all over her, but people just laughed over it for days afterwards. It seemed that I had unintentionally done what everyone else had been wanting to do over the years, without even meaning to. I was too weak to even get up. I'd been feeling sick for the whole week. Someone called a doctor while I was out of it, and she checked everything then. While only my husband and I were present, she gave us the good news. I was pregnant. She was very sure of it, but she took a sample to send to confirm the news. As soon as she left, my husband started telling everyone who could hear, and the event turned into a celebration. Everyone was so nice to me for the rest of the day, and my father-in-law thanked me for giving him another grandchild. I'll admit, I enjoyed this newfound respect and the fact that I beat my sister-in-law at something for once. She was sour-faced when she came out to congratulate me. I knew that she was jealous because for once people were treating me like a queen while ignoring her. She was always the center of attention because of her expensive clothing, while I was just seen as the poor girl that got Gideon married. I received many gifts and support from the family throughout my pregnancy, such that the first month was a breeze. Even the mother-in-law, who hated me, was forced to rub my feet when they were swollen, courtesy of my father-in-law's demands. The man appeared oblivious to the most of the politics that went on in the house, though. But once in a while, he showed that he was still the head of the household, and we all had to listen to him. But as I mentioned, my sister-in-law was jealous of my pregnancy, which was funny because I seem to recall her telling me that the pregnancy was not all that I would get fat and ugly, all to make herself feel better in the moment. Well, during dinner at her house with only parents, me and my husband, and her husband too, she suddenly fainted. Her husband quickly got her and the whole drama started again. I knew she was just trying to put on a big old show for the parents. She apologized for her weakness because of the condition that she was in. Of course, everyone else fell for the bait and asked what condition she was in, and she smiled, looking at me when she said she was indeed pregnant. Well, I did not realize that I was in a pregnancy competition. Everyone was happy, of course, for now it was a double miracle. The happiest person at the table was my mother-in-law, and how could she not be since Jenna was her favorite daughter-in-law? Now, I had to share all the attention with the most dramatic pregnant women on the planet. She was faking it so much, making weird food requests and saying the baby was not kicking when she was. Another thing was that after comparing notes, I found out that we were the same months along and our babies would be born around the same time. Everyone said that, saying they would be such good friends, nearly twins. I shuddered to imagine my child being best friends with hers because I hate her guts. It did not help that my mother-in-law deliberately spoiled her and only referred to her child while acting like she was not pregnant. I was so annoyed that Jenna wanted to steal the attention just like always. She can never let me have anything in life. It's always a competition with her. One day, our father-in-law called us and our husbands. He said he was excited about 2 grandchildren coming into this world. Just a couple months away, such a gift it would be. He said he heard we were going to give birth around the same time, so he thought it would be fun to have a competition. Yeah, a competition, to see who would give birth first between me and her. And the winner gets a house. Not just any house, but one of the properties he owned that was very big. Everyone in the family wondered all the time who had been given that house in the will. I was surprised by this new challenge, but more than happy to compete, if it meant I could beat Jenna and have the house everyone wanted. We would get to save so much money if we got the house, and use that money to set up a fund for our child. I could see that my husband was thinking the very same thing. We had to win. The little friendly competition was not so friendly. It was brutal. She made sure to brag at every turn about the exercises she was doing, the specialists who were helping her take care of that little baby, and all the fancy food that she was eating, which I simply could not afford. I did not do much. I could not afford to because of my financial situation. It did not help that I had to spend a lot of money because I just kept on getting ill. It was not so bad that the baby was in danger, but it did force me to take bed rest by the time I was in my 2nd trimester. My sister-in-law, well, she was lucky that she did not have to work at all or have any sickness. By then, mother-in-law had prematurely declared her winner. Even though she did not say it, she showed it with her actions. She would visit her, cook for her, take her to a doctor appointment while she just ignored me. I got very emotional one day when I needed someone to fetch me from the hospital. I knew she was home alone and the only person who could help me, but she refused, saying she was busy, only for me to see her shopping with my sister-in-law in pictures later on social media. I called her and I gave her a piece of my mind, telling her that even if she did not like me, the fact remained that I was carrying her grandchild. She did not have to treat my unborn child like he did not matter just because she hates me. Well, we had a very big argument after that, where she said that I was not supposed to be her daughter-in-law. She had a way better option for her son. After that call, well, I was upset. My husband was also mad at her. Even though he respected and loved her, it was too far for her. But that was nothing but the start. When I was nearing my 9th month, so was my sister-in-law. I was given a due date, It was a few days before my sister-in-law's. I didn't even notice, but my mother-in-law was with me on the day that I got it. She told my sister-in-law, and later on, my sister-in-law messaged me telling me that just because I had an earlier due date did not mean I was really going to win. She was such a sour loser. But I was confident that I was going to give birth first. And the next day, I started to feel very, very bad cramps, such that I lay down on the floor in pain. I could not get to the phone because it was just too far away, and my husband was away at work. This was strange because my water was not broken yet, but I felt excruciating pain. And well, I guess I ended up passing out. It was my luck that a neighbor heard my screams and came to find me passed out. She called my husband and the ambulance, which rushed me to the hospital immediately. I was conscious, but in so much pain, fading in and out of it, but I was bleeding a lot. There was so much blood. At least they were able to do an emergency C-section and save both my child and me. I believe that someone was watching over me on that day, because I should have died. My mother-in-law celebrated too quickly, exposing herself before finding out my fate. She and my sister-in-law immediately started announcing that I lost my child, when no one told them that in fact I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Though losing a lot of blood on my own, the doctor said that they did a toxicology test on my blood, for I was displaying symptoms of being poisoned. He said I was very lucky. I got the hospital just in time, and that my endometrium lining was thicker than most, protecting my baby. My son was born without any issues, and was soon able to feed after that poison was out my bloodstream. We took a picture of the two of us and sent it to the family group. This was the first time my husband was checking his messages since I was admitted to the hospital, which was why he was surprised to see that the messages before that were of family members offering their condolences. And the people who started circulating all that, who was it? My mother and sister-in-law. I knew right then. It must have been them. They must have been the ones who poisoned me, because they did not want me to give birth first. I was so angry. I just wanted to get my hands on them right then and there. They put my and my child's life in danger, all because they could not bear me having something good for once. I knew they were not the best of people, but I was shocked to find out the lengths they would go to make me miscarry. I can't even imagine what would have happened if I lost my precious little boy. I would have been destroyed. I was so angry and so scared, I never knew how dangerous they were until they went too far. My anger was nothing compared to that of my husband, who wanted to rip them both to shreds limb by limb. Metaphorically speaking, of course. What cruelty or madness would want them to make me suffer like this, nearly losing my life? Both of them were in danger to society, and I did not want to even see them anywhere near my kid. They could not forget about being part of my life. They're bad people that I want nothing to do with. I cannot even live just knowing that people who wanted to kill my child are so close to me. Luckily, my father-in-law arrived right when the rest of the family did, just to see the baby. And would you imagine who was slithering around at the back? Immediately, I told the two of them to leave. Did they come here to finish me off? They acted like they didn't know about anything, but my husband was forceful enough that they got scared. My husband explained to my father-in-law what happened, and how we suspected that it was my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. He didn't say a peep after that. He went outside and started shouting. There was a lot of commotion outside before everyone left, and my husband would not allow me to follow. I was forced to stay in bed and recover for a few days. Not allowed to even go on my phone because he didn't want me to stress. To then, I was discharged. He took me to our new home. I had a lot of questions about what happened to mother-in-law and sister-in-law after we exposed them. My father-in-law interrogated them about the poison, but both of them denied it. But when my sister-in-law saw that the pressure was getting worse, she decided to turn on my mother-in-law and say it was all her idea. father-in-law kicked out my mother-in-law. She's now staying in an apartment close by. We do now think that they'll divorce because of their age, but as of now, they are separated. I decided not to press charges. Yeah, I know. It's because I wanted to keep our family out of the gossip of the town. And my baby needs me at the moment. As for my sister-in-law, she gave birth a few days after me, but no one was even there for her. Everyone, including my husband, thinks she's a monster. An absolute vile creature for what she's done to me. They're still together, but like my mother-in-law, she's now banned from all family events. I'm now focused on my baby and my new home. But I still get flashbacks PTSD to that day when I nearly died. I'm so scared of losing my child, and though my husband reassures me, I think they might come back and try to finish me off. I think about it all the time. I do not know what would make them want to hurt such an innocent baby, especially when my mother-in-law is a mother, and my sister-in-law was carrying her own child. It's a really scary world. Just scary how far some people will go to prove a point. Well, they did prove a point, that they were the lowest form of life. Everyone in the family hates them now, and instead of supporting me, those two can blame me all they want, but they did this to themselves. I said what I said. They'll get what's coming for them one day. I promise that. The only good thing about this story was the fact that those people were banned from the family forever. Who could poison someone who's pregnant? Guys, I don't know. This story just kept getting crazier and crazier. I was like, man, if this really happened, that's crazy. Do you guys think this story was fact or fiction? Let me know in the comment section down below, and what exactly would you do if someone close to you tried to poison you? Let me know your thoughts on that, guys. Drop them down below. And the final story of the day, I'm 26 female. My boyfriend ran off in the middle of the night with our newborn son. We had the baby on a Thursday, came home on a Saturday. Roses. Everything was absolutely beautiful. Our relationship had never been stronger, and we were so happy. More in love with each other and with the little one than we thought possible. On Sunday, we decided to pop a bottle of champagne. I have one class, and he continues to say, "We can get drunk now." I obviously did not want to get drunk, but did not discourage him since we hadn't drank in months. We used to drink together nightly. He ended up quite belligerent by the end of the night, and it resulted in tears on my end since he was acting out of character. The next morning, he sincerely apologized and said that if he ever got drunk like that again, he would stop drinking forever. That evening rolls around, and we have a glass of wine with dinner. I didn't want another, but he continued to finish the bottle. And another. And another. Drunk again, more tears. I explained to him, while he was drunk, the conversation we had the night before about him not doing this, and he broke down, and came to bed and promised never to again. Well, after a week of being home, my mother begins to travel to us. We live in Colorado, she lives in New York, to visit us for 2 weeks to help get settled with the baby. This visit has been planned for 4 months and was not a surprise. In the 2 days she's traveling, my boyfriend begins to transition from happy new father to protective new father. It's a difference, but he's very confident in his new role, and feels that his life has changed and he's very happy. Well, my mother arrives at 8 a.m. on a Monday, and proceeds to say hi to us, although quite exhausted, goes to sit on our porch to decompress after a 48-hour travel. My boyfriend comes to me and says that she was disrespectful when she arrived. I question him and say, well, I'm pretty sure she's just tired. Let her get some rest and then we can all have a conversation about boundaries and more once she's rested. He agreed and moved on with the morning. I didn't think anything else of it, but around 9:30 a.m., 90 minutes after her arrival, she passes him in the kitchen and he raises his voice and exclaims to her about how she will, quote, not be disrespectful to him and his house, and more. I begin to bawl and beg him not just to stop. My mother, completely taken aback, goes outside crying. My boyfriend's livid. I can see it in his eyes. He looked like a monster. I try to calm him down and go to check on my mother. Well, when I try to calm down, he comes outside and asks to speak to her, and I leave them alone. Hindsight, should not have done that. And after about 1 minute, my mom comes back inside yelling and crying. I'm done. I'm done. And tells me she's going back home. I try to speak to both of them, but I just can't stop crying. I had a baby 10 days ago at this point. My mother packs up and leaves. And my boyfriend thinks he has done the right thing and protected his family unit. I'm devastated that my mom is gone, and I was just wanting to help and guidance with the newborn. He's confident in his decision. In the next 2 days, this confidence does not wane, and he says he, quote, had to hurt me in this situation to maintain his family. We went to bed around 11. We had an argument just some earlier in the evening, but when bedtime rolled around, we were actually on good terms, and I went to sleep pretty hard because of that. I woke up to a stranger shouting my name. I look over. The baby's not in my bed. I ran up and out the policeman inside. The shower's running, the door's open. The policeman informs me that my boyfriend took the baby and ran out our apartment building to a house up the street and rang their doorbell. The officer asked me to come with him, and he took me to the house where my boyfriend went. There were many officers outside asking me questions about different stuff. The consensus was that my boyfriend thought someone was going to kill him, so he took the baby and ran. The officers took me inside the house, gave me the baby, and then let me know that they're taking my boyfriend to the hospital for an evaluation. The officer takes me to a hotel for my safety. The hospital ruled a case of a, quote, mental breakdown, and he was fine. He seemed fine when I picked him up, and we just went home. As the day went on, he got more and more paranoid, so I called the police when he went to work. He insisted that I bugged the apartment, that the neighbors, they were in on it, and that my mom called our pediatrician and more. The police suggested for us to separate for the evening, and he stayed home, and the baby and I were at the hotel once more. What should I do now? He's continuously paranoid now. I have a baby to protect. I don't feel he's being rational in our own home. Please help. Well, thanks for listening. What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here. So at the ending of this post, there's a little ETA that was added by the original poster after the overwhelming responses in the comment section. And OP decided to add an update 2 months later. It's a very short one, but man, let's get into it. Overwhelming response. I did not expect this. The baby and I are safe. I called his mother, who's now traveling to come get him. I called my sister, who's planning to come now once he's gone from the house, so she and I can go back together. Thank you all. This has been the worst week after the best week, and I'm just simply exhausted. I just turned here to rationalize what I was thinking, since I don't have people to talk to outside of this situation. Thank you so much for your responses. Update. 2 months later. Baby and I are safe. Boyfriend's been getting help at his mom's. I went to my mom's. I've been communicating with his mom, and he seems to be improving from her perspective. Thank you all again for the messages and comments. It helped to have outside perspective when I was so overwhelmed. I'm much better now than I was then. Okay, so here's the top comment. He should be mentally evaluated. May have some type of mental disorder, which untreated could get worse. I don't want to defend the guy, but this is so weird and extreme, and his actions are so off he doesn't seem like he's there. Mostly, at that age, mental health stuff really starts to become apparent. So guys, let me know. Do you think that he's suffering from mental health, or what do you think's going on? Drop your comments, and do not forget to subscribe to the channels. There's 3 channels now that have daily videos on every single one. Mr. Reddito Animated, Mr. Reddito Stories, and Mr. Reddito Office Dramas. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll catch you in the next one.